Okay, this is Brianne Perenick, and we are back to finish Chapter 0, Lesson 4. We left off by talking about multiplication of decimals and how everything had to be right aligned. And now I'm going to explain that when you don't have your calculator and you can't just simply plug in the numbers, hit multiply and hit equal, you have to actually line everything up on the right hand side. Take care of your multiplication just as if that decimal point was not there, and then actually count how many decimal places there are in each of your rows. For example, in this first example, example A, you will see that there were 3 decimal places, get out of there, on that first row, and 1 decimal place here on the second row, which gives us a total of 4 decimal places that you will have to move over in your answer in order to place that answer. So you're going to start at the right hand side and move over 1, 2, 3, 4 places and actually physically put that decimal point in your answer and fill in any loose loops with a 0. Example B, they made sure that it was right aligned. They did the multiplication and got 288, and then they started to count their decimal places. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4 in the first row, 1, 2, 3 in the second row, which combines to make 7 decimal places that they will need in the answer. So whenever we move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places to write that decimal point, any extra spaces that you had to move, you will need to fill in with zeros. So let's go ahead and practice this method just in case, because you never know when the batteries in your calculator will die, or maybe you'll leave your calculator in your room or you won't have it with you. So you better make sure that you know how to do this. So we're going to have 1.14 times 0.003. We want to pay close attention that everything is right aligned. We take care of multiplication first. So 3 times 4 is 12. Carry that 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. Now there is no further multiplication that we can actually do. So at this point, what we want to do is count the decimal places that were in the first row. There were 1, 2 places. So I'm going to write a 2 and circle it out here on the side. In the second row, there were 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to write a 3 and circle it. That means that in my answer, I need a combined 5 decimal places. So I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where I can write my decimal. I need to fill in with zeros here and a 0 in the front. So my answer is 0.00342. For the next one, my strategy is that I always try to write the problem that has the larger decimal places on the top. So I would put 0.00003 on the top, and then I would have my next number on the bottom. So taking care of this multiplication, 4 times 3 is 12. There's no further multiplication that needs to be done because every other number is a 0. So in my first row, my top row, there are 5 decimal places. In my second row, there were 3, giving me a combined needed 8 decimal places. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's where I can put my decimal point. And there is your answer. You can check our work with your calculator. Okay, moving on to dividing. Now in division, it is important for you to know the vocabulary words involved with division because we will be referring to them. Okay, we have the divisor, which is the number outside the box, the dividend, which is the number inside the box, and then the quotient, which is always the answer to the division problem, whether it's in the form of the traditional style of dividing, whether you're using that little division symbol with the bar and the 2 dots, or whether it's a fraction. Okay, the quotient is always the answer to the division problem. One way to think about it is that you're starting with a dividend. The divisor is the number that's doing the dividing because that's a verb. It's doing the dividing, and then the quotient is your answer. Example A tells us that Chris bought 3 identical shirts for his sons. The total cost was $28.47. How much did each shirt cost? What we're doing here is taking a total cost, and we need to split it up among 3 of his sons to figure out what one shirt was. This is a typical division problem. So we're taking that $28.40 and dividing it up among the 3 sons, and we're looking to see what that equals. If you have your calculator, that's all well and good. You can plug that into the calculator and get your answer. If you don't have your calculator, you need to be able to solve this using the traditional box style of division. So you're going to put your dividend in the box. The 3 is your divisor. It's going to go on the outside. 3 will go into 28 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. When you subtract, you're left with 1. We're going to bring down that 4. 3 goes into and bring up your decimal point. Make sure that decimal point comes straight up at that point. 3 goes into 14 4 times. That gives us a 12 and leaves us with a 2. And 3 will go into 27 9 times. So that means that each shirt should have cost $9.49. Always make sure that you answer a word problem with a sentence. That is very, very important whenever in this class and all future classes, that you are answering word problems in full sentence form. If you do not do that, you are going to end up losing points on tests and quizzes. So please keep that in mind, that word problems require sentences. Okay, word problems require sentences. Now, we're going to move on and hopefully get this finished here in the next couple of minutes. In order to divide, okay, you must make sure that your divisor is a whole number if you are doing your division longhand. Okay? When you're pumping that into your calculator is going to take care of that division for you. But if you have to do that division on your own, you are going to have to pick up your decimal point and physically move it over. So if you take a look at example B here, we have 16.2 divided by 0.27. The divisor is not a whole number. It is a decimal. So since it is a decimal, we have to physically pick this decimal point up and move it over to the end of the number to turn it into a whole number of 27. Since we moved it 3 decimal places in the divisor, you must also move that decimal point 3 places in the dividend so that we are keeping our numbers equivalent. Okay? Technically, what we're doing is multiplying by the power of 10. That would be equivalent to 3 jumps on that chart that we had. So it's like multiplying by 1,000 in both the dividend and the divisor. But what I want you to know is that if you move it 3 places in the dividend, or in the divisor, then you move it 3 places in the dividend. If you move it 2 places in the divisor, you move it 2 places in the dividend, etc. That way, you're keeping it equivalent. The next step is for you to simply divide as normal. Once you move your decimal point, I highly suggest that you automatically move it up into your quotient. That way you don't forget that you have moved it and it's now part of your answer. As you see, they have moved it here in the example for us and it's already there. They don't forget that they've moved it. And then they have carried out that long division and their answer is 600. So again, you can plug that into the calculator, but if you don't have your calculator, you must remember this step. Okay? So, this ends our lesson on multiplication and division. And if you have any questions, please let me know and I will make sure that I make time to help you. And send me an email or whatever you need and I will be there to assist you. Thanks.